Alright everybody, Chris Campbell here in the clock shop. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and start assembling our clock movement. We have our top plate in place. What I'm going to do now is put just a couple of drops of oil right here. We're going to now place our washer that I made, our bushing, and we'll place another drop here and here. Okay. And now we're going to put our Carter pin in place. Let's see here. Sometimes these can be a little tricky. Basically, this is just a spring that hooks into a groove, and you basically have to push it in place for it to lock. And sometimes that is easier said than done. There we go. Alright, now we're going to bring this piece up, and that locks in place perfect. Alright, so now we have our count wheel on the front plate installed. So we'll put that over to the side, and now we're going to bring our movement, our bottom plate. We're going to start off with our time side, great wheel, and we'll place that in here. We're going to stretch out our cables to keep them from getting in the way. Alright, now we're going to put our second gear in place, and it goes here. Alright, now we're going to put in our count wheel and arbor. So we'll go ahead and put our cannon pinion in place, and that goes here. Now the next piece that we're going to put in is our J hook, and it goes into the back side here, and we're going to go ahead and turn this wheel so that it will line up and be timed properly. Okay, now for our intermediate wheel gear, that will go here in the center. Alright, now for our strike side, we're going to go ahead and put in our strike gear, main gear. And next is our cam wheel, and we're going to make sure that this notch is at the 12 o'clock position. Okay. And now for our count levers, this is the one that's going to be a little tricky, because this piece is going to dogleg between the J hook, alright, and come back behind here. And now we've got to make sure that it lines up with that cam hook. So this is the part that can be a little tricky. Alright, so like so, okay. And now for our governor, and we got to put that pin at 1 o'clock. Alright, so that's that. And now for our hammer, we need to be sure that we put this piece in underneath the count wheel for the hammer, and the stop bar has to go underneath or behind this bar here. So I'm going to place that there and orientate the hammer behind that bar. Perfect. Okay, so now we have the Ogee movement partially assembled. We've got all of our gears in their relative positions. Now comes the hard part, which is fitting each piece in place. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and put our escapement wheel in place. And we're going to lock it into our escapement pin. There we go. And it goes into a hole right back here. So we first got to lock that gear in place, okay? And now we're going to push. Oh, this is the piece, or the part that really can be time consuming and very difficult, and make you honestly think about redoing clock repair as a business. This can actually be very frustrating because it is very difficult sometimes to line up these pivots the way they should be. There we go. And as soon as you get one pivot in place, then you have another pivot that wants to come out. Alright. So what I'm going to do now is pause this video because this is a very difficult movement and it can take sometimes an hour to 2 hours to get everything lined up properly and timed, but I'm going to show you the logistics once I do. So stay tuned. Okay, so now we are at our final step, and with the power of Magic Video, and 2 hours and 10 minutes later, we finally got all the pivots and all the arbors and all the pins put back into place. And I've also went ahead and timed everything. So this is a completed movement now. We have our hammer, which is been installed and it's under the correct tension. We also have our count lever, which is in our deep notch. We also have the the hook inside the cam wheel lock. We also have our governor, or the fly, warning pin at the 1 o'clock position. And we have our J-hook bar, also in the right orientation, so that everything now will strike. So to give it a test, I'm going to push this up and rotate it as if we were striking on it. There we go. So we'll do bong, 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 and it should lock. And there we go. We have it locked. So that's perfect setup. So this movement has now been completely restored. It's set up the way it should be. And it is working properly the way that it should be. The next step that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put in our verge. So I'm going to back this out a little bit. And I'm going to put this underneath here. And we will lock our verge. I'm going to back this up a little bit. There we go. Sometimes these can be a little tricky. Whoop, still not the way I want it. Okay, there we go. So we'll go ahead and lock our verge in place with our escapement. And we'll push this piece over and lock it in place. Now we have a correct verge. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to address the hold a second, got it back out of sync. There we go. Okay. Well, there we go. Okay. Now, what we're going to do next is go ahead and work on our pendulum bob, because it does need a little bit of work, and I'm going to show you how we do that and set that part up. Stay tuned.